What's up you guys, my name is Josh, welcome back to another toy review, and today we're here to take a look at the Godzilla vs. Kong Godzilla with Heat Ray. So before we move on, this is gonna be kind of a weird toy review, mostly because while this is supposed to be a variation of Godzilla, obviously the entire figure itself, I'm just gonna say it right off the back, I'm not gonna hold any punches here, it's pretty much a complete reuse of the Godzilla with Radio Tower figure that we already took a look at. Sorry. So obviously there isn't really a lot of differences with it, with the exception of his dorsal fins being a translucent blue, plastic, obviously trying to match with the whole like shooting his heat ray, fire breath, atomic breath thing. I don't know. I guess in this incarnation they kind of named it differently because it's always been like, his atomic breath and all that. They gave it different names from time to time, so of course for the Monsterverse they decided to call it the heat ray. So hopefully this toy review doesn't take super long, which is kind of ironic because let's be honest here, most of these videos are probably going to end up being 20 minutes anyway. Honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that the last toy review with the Kong with Battle Axe actually got like a lot of traction and a lot of views, so I do want to thank you guys for that. But without further ado, let's just take a look at the figure. So I guess kind of a little bit of a small recap here. I'm gonna put him side by side with the Godzilla with Radio Tower just to kind of get an idea as to how he looks. So as you can see, it's the exact same figure. Pretty much nothing really different. It's the same head sculpt, same arm, same everything, same battle feature, the battle damage. Pretty much everything is the exact same with the exception of the paint and of course the fins right here. I guess I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but because this one includes the heat ray piece, what's ironic is that with this one as well, he actually has a little bit of a hole underneath, so that way you can actually attach the piece of this figure if you wanted to, which is, obviously it's kind of funny because he did not come with an atomic breath piece, so take that as you will, but these are it's still a very solid, nice looking figure for the most part, and it does it does pretty much represent how the character looks in, the recent Monsterverse movies for the most part. Well, obviously with the exception of Godzilla, Kong New Empire, but you get the idea. But let's save the comparison for last because I just wanted to mention that, just in case just in case anyone didn't took a look at my my review of that figure. So without let's just get right to it because there are some interesting things to kind of note with this figure. One thing you'll notice is that the paint job, it's so weird, and it's honestly mind-boggling in a way because at first you look at it, if you go through like the promotional pictures for it, obviously it's shown that he has a bit of a weird kind of gray touch up to him and like in some areas. Obviously that's supposed to represent some sort of shading, or at least like some sort of like representing the scales and like the hardness of his skin, but in some angles it just kind of looks like that it's just a mostly like painted black sort of figure. Like it doesn't really seem like there's too much to really go by with the figure, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's really not. But obviously for some people this might be a bit of a turnoff because like I mentioned, the other Godzilla figure does have a lot more like paint to it, but this one I understand what they were going for because obviously it kind of sort of reminds me of the 2014 Godzilla film in which he was fighting against the Mutos, and a lot of people's biggest complaint about the film was that that certain parts of it was just really dark and you couldn't really see anything. So I guess this was sort of the exception when he was beginning to sort of like power up and charge and then literally like killed the Muto. So that's kind of ironic. So of course, how about we just take a look at the sculpting a little bit. I'm gonna zoom in right in a little bit. There we go. So everything is the same. Like I mentioned, he still has that ridiculous derpy look to it. It's like, bro, his look at this man's schnauzer. Like, oh man, it looks like him, but it also looks a bit uncanny. What doesn't help is like it has such like a weird expression to it. Obviously the jaw is articulated, you could move it around and stuff. His teeth obviously are At most, yeah, I mean, it gets to the point, but it is a little tiny bit sloppy, mostly around the top. The bottom part isn't too bad, surprisingly. Actually, at least his eyes are actually painted much more properly this time, because I know that with the other one, so he had orange eyes, and it did look kind of weird. He had like a weird shocked expression, but in this one, it kind of seems a bit more reasonable, so okay. And they're also, of course, painted blue. But I guess one big thing I would like to at least talk about is the eye catcher here, which is of course his fins. So they are painted, well, not painted, but obviously it's a translucent plastic. You know, even if I want to put my finger around it, you could kind of see through it a little bit. And then of course you got the bottom part in like this sort of deep blue, of course representing his sort of charge. You know, you guys get how it is. You know. Like I say, everything else is the same amount of articulation, you know, everything else, you know, just to kind of, you know, obviously his head does move, but it's not full 360. I mean, you could try, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially with this one. This is a more older figure. In fact, if I remember correctly, I believe this is actually my second figure I ever bought from the line. And of course, sorry, man, I have to do this, but I gotta take a little piece off your chest right here. We're gonna give you some heart surgery. We're gonna give you heart surgery just to help with that. Yeah, bit of that sort of bloody red going on. This was basically the action feature that was going on for like the first couple of figures in the, you know, the Monsterverse lineup, where they had this battle damage. You could take a piece off of their skin, whatever, you know, just to kind of show them that they were fighting, whatever. And obviously that feature has kind of died down with recent figures that obviously no longer have that action feature. They kind of go for some other stuff, you know. They got their own more unique take. Of course, with Scar King being an example, where he can use like the thing, that spine thing around his chest, you can use that as a weapon. You get the idea, you know. And then of course, you know, actually, now I'm gonna have to go find a piece, so hold on one second. Alright, so we're a little bit back in session, and then of course I got the poor little piece right here. Honestly, it looks like a burnt tortilla chip. It kind of does. I just thought I'd kind of show it off. I mean, actually, you know what? Let's do some mix and matching. You know, speaking of surgery, because it's the exact same figure, obviously, I mean, if you wanted to. Oh, there we go. Look at that. You see, it's the exact same. Like, it looks like a thunderbolt. Can I mention that? I mean, first of all, that is such a deep wound. I don't even know how he's still alive. But I guess if you want to, just to be kind of weird and goofy, you know, for whatever weird reason, you know, you could, I guess you could kind of sort of attach it, I guess. I don't know. For some odd reason, these figures have this weird tendency where, like, sometimes it's easy to put the piece on them and sometimes it's not. So as you can kind of see, that looks really weird. Like, okay, what is this, like a stylistic choice or something? If you were to like paint like parts black or whatever, I guess it would make sense. I don't know. What is this, his logo? I mean, that's for if you want to, you know. I mean, I wouldn't, but you know. And I guess we could kind of take a look at how it looks here. And as you can see, I'm having a bit of a hard time. In fact, actually, you know what? I don't like that at all. No, let's remove it. Some things should just stay the same. I'm just saying. With every great toy line, they're always gonna have their weird little like features and all that, which makes sense because these are technically kids' toys. But for what they are, they're very impressive. So I guess there we go. Alrighty. So for the most part, we're gonna step on the side and we're gonna talk about his main accessory, and that is, of course, honestly, not sure where to really go with this, so I'm gonna get good old Godzilla out of the way and talk a little bit about his heat ray. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in context because obviously it's less of a sort of stream type thing and more of a sort of cloudy kind of feel to it. That's why it kind of looks the way it does. I also find it ironic that in some promotional pieces, the piece is actually a lot more bigger than Godzilla, when in reality, it's actually pretty small. I mean, I'm not complaining. It sort of fits. I just thought I'd sort of mention it. I'm not upset about it, but obviously it kind of hurts the figure the way it looks a little bit. But then again, there isn't really any other way you could portray it. You could put it in there, you know, with the peg and all that, and there you go. There you go. You got your Godzilla with heat ray figure right there. Honestly, I could end the review right here, honestly, but obviously I don't want to do that. I mean, I want to keep talking a little bit more about it because it does look a little goofy. It generally looks like he's puking. Like, I feel so bad. Like, what did he eat? Was it, like, my goodness. I mean, we all know that Kong loves to eat some weird shit. He literally ate an octopus in Kong Skull Island, so I don't know what that tells you. And I guess I also forgot to mention with the paint job is that you can see how the blue paint, like, I don't know, I don't really know how to really describe it. You see how kind of weak it feels, but then as you gradually go up, it starts to kind of, you know, get that nice glow feel. But then they kind of just stop all the way towards the top, and I wish they would have kept going, which is a bit unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. Alrighty. Oh, and I actually forgot to mention, they actually did painted his toes. Like, from what I'm seeing, well, only slightly, you can't really tell too much of a difference. It's like what I said before, the paint job on this figure is so weird because it's like, in some angles, it just looks like he's painted completely black, but in others, it looks like he has like a weird glossy feel and he might have some grays here and there. I mean, most of the pictures I've already showed you, it does kind of seem like, well, he's supposed to have like a weird sort of gray finish to it, but obviously the final product doesn't show that that much. But I'm not gonna complain. You know, this figure is the definition of getting to the point, so it's not bad, it's not great, you know, but I can understand its execution and I'm not mad. I still recommend the figure for the most part, even though you got this little thing. Now, you might think I might give them some negatives because of the paint and all the other stuff, and of course the complete reuse. No, actually, that's not the case at all. The reason why this figure is not a 10 out of 10 or 100% perfect is because this piece unfortunately does have the tendency to kind of fall off very, very easily. It stays in there nice and snug, but that, you know, and it does fit pretty well. You can make him do his thing, whatever, but I don't know. I mean, I like that you could at least kind of turn it, but like I say, it comes off pretty easily. So like, if you were to like throw this figure around or so, it would not stay on there for long. And I really wanted to mention that because yes, Playmates actually did make an updated version of this figure, and it is 1,000 times better than this one, which, you know, I guess is kind of ironic. I also do have that figure as well, so I will review it because that figure is actually not a complete reuse of sculpt. It actually has a lot of new stuff to it, so I'll be very happy to review that. This, however, I mean, this was the beginning of what's to become. Nobody ever really expected this toy line to become so huge the way it does. And don't get me wrong, presentation and the way that he is, it's still really cool. So honestly, I mean, besides the issue that he can't really hold the breath piece too well, it still looks pretty good, you know. I should also probably mention that yes, his tail is like a separate piece and that you always got to attach it, so just be careful. I forgot to kind of mention that before, but at least it's good that I mentioned it now. I mean, like I said, everything else same articulation, same amounts, you know, all that. Still looks pretty cool though. I mean, yeah, I like it, you know. I mean, I like the other one better, but you know, look at that. Can you imagine two Godzillas fighting each other? Bro, that'd be pretty cool. Now, I could be wrong. From what I've heard, like during the production and the making of Godzilla vs. Kong, when Mechagodzilla was slightly, you know, was kind of introduced. Well, he was introduced in this film, but I guess originally, from what I've heard, I don't know if this is true, I think originally he was supposed to have like a fake like Godzilla skin, like he was meant to look like a doppelganger, and then it's revealed, you know, that he turns out to be a robot. But I'm not 100% too sure on that because that was like such a long time ago, because there was a lot of like leaked toys and all that and the pictures, and for the most part some of them didn't end up, you know, being finalized. You know, we pretty much got what we got when this movie came out. Just so I kind of mention that as some interesting trivia, you know. Oh, and in case you're wondering, spoiler alert, Mechagodzilla is basically King Ghidorah, except not really, but we'll get on that when I review that figure. So I'm gonna attach this baby back in, and then we're gonna do some comparisons. If I could, okay, you know what, hold up, I'm struggling, hold on. Yep, so just to kind of show him off right here he is compared to his other brethren, you know, just kind of styling right there. And of course, I should definitely mention it right now, we're definitely gonna see this exact same sculpt multiple times, so be prepared for when that comes. Also, I forgot to give him this. Yeah, this is a cool accessory, but I don't know what it is. I feel bad for Godzilla. He's the king of the monsters, and yet he can't get his shit right. Like, his piece, he could barely hold on to it, and yeah. Don't worry, this toy line gets better. I promise. Oh, and I guess as a little bonus, here's a tiny little Godzilla. This is not a bootleg. This is actually a small little minifigure that came in Five Below. I know, kind of ironic. I don't know if I should really review this though, because this is actually the only one I have, so just thought I'd kind of show them off now. Just sort of size comparison. So, of course, with the two titans fighting to the death, here he is compared to Kong, and again, it looks pretty cool. Also, I should probably mention, like, his atomic breath. I mean, I'm just out of curiosity. Close enough. If you guys watch the movie, it's mostly towards the end, you'll probably know why I did that. Trust me. Here they are right next to each other, standing up straight. So even though Kong is a bit on the broad side, Godzilla, I mean, obviously, yeah, you get the idea. And of course, he is slightly taller, which makes sense. So sizing and all that, pretty good. Excellent. I mean, heck, it's been a while since I talked about Marvel Legends. I guess I could also do a comparison with Black Panther from the Void build-figure wave. I like how they're almost the same height, too. That's actually pretty cool. And this is definitely, of course, one of my favorite figures. You guys still like turtles, right? I mean, here we got the classic Baxter Stockman. And, of course, this is actually not the reissue that's been going around. This is the actual OG figure that came out in the 80s and 90s. This is such a great gift. One of my favorite turtle figures of all time. And of course, you could tell that it's retro. Like, very, very retro. I mean, this is so cool. It's okay. It's okay. Just gotta kind of adjust it a little bit. But it looks really, really nice. And since I've been teasing, you know, my upcoming reviews for Masters of the Universe Origins and Masterverse figures, I guess just for now, until that time comes, here he is compared to Faker from the Masters of the Universe Revelations TV series on Netflix. Yeah. And, I mean, oops, sorry. I'm just trying, you know what it is? I'm trying to get him in frame, but it's like, it's so hard. All right, there you go. I mean, yeah, I know people don't have the best opinions of the show, but I just thought I'd kind of show off the figure anyway, just to show the size comparison, because he's a big beefy dude. Even though this is the evil doppelganger of, you know, He-Man, but you get the idea. It looks pretty cool. I guess it's kind of ironic I'm doing this comparison because of what I just mentioned before with Godzilla. But, all right, let's get him out of there. Oh, actually, we are not done, because the next figure we're going to be taking a look at is the Skullcrawler, because that's there we go. That's a really, really interesting one. This is going to be a fun one to review next time. I can't wait. Yeah, so there you go. So this is also kind of showing off that there's a lot of variety within this toy line, and Baxter Stockman just fell off the table. Yeah, so despite this figure being a complete reuse of the Godzilla with Radio Tower, it's still pretty solid for what it is. And of course, it gets to the idea pretty easily, you know, like, not bad, you know, not great, you know, obviously maybe something a little bit more, you know, maybe there could have been like maybe a little bit more like with the effects, obviously, maybe a little bit somewhere blue could have helped out, because it does look maybe a little plain. But honestly, that's just the least of our problems, because at least he has that effect at the bottom towards his tail. The only reason for, you know, me not giving him a 10 out of 10, you know, I give him a 9, honestly, it's because of that weird issue with the piece. Yeah, so that's the only downside. But besides that, pretty great figure, you know? So, yeah, that's about it for now. So next time, Skullcrawler is next. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. This video ended up being, of course, more than 20 minutes, which is what I was trying to avoid, but please forgive me, alright? I'm a toy reviewer, alright? Well, we're getting back on track, so that's great. More stuff coming, and yeah, that's about it. See ya.